What if I told you that the difference between those who thrive under pressure and those who crumble isn't talent, intelligence, or luck, but something far simpler yet infinitely more powerful? What if the secret to unshakable confidence, crystal clear decision-making and magnetic presence was already inside you, waiting to be awakened? Every single day, millions of people are hijacked by their own minds. They wake up anxious about the day ahead, react emotionally to every challenge, and go to bed exhausted from battling their own thoughts. They live in a constant state of mental chaos, bouncing between worry, frustration, anger, and overwhelm. But here's what they don't realize. This isn't normal. This isn't how your mind is supposed to work. The truth is, calmness isn't a personality trait you're born with or without. It's not genetic lottery. It's a skill, a trainable, developable, masterable skill that anyone can learn. And once you understand how to cultivate true mental calmness, everything changes. Your relationships improve because you stop reacting and start responding. Your performance skyrockets because anxiety no longer clouds your thinking. Your presence becomes magnetic because people are naturally drawn to those who remain centered in chaos. Think about the people you most admire. The leaders, the innovators, the ones who seem to glide through life's challenges with grace. What do they all have in common? They've mastered the art of mental calmness. They don't avoid stress. They transform it. They don't eliminate problems. They navigate them with clarity. They've trained their minds to be their greatest ally, not their worst enemy. In this comprehensive guide, you're going to discover the exact methods, techniques, and principles that separate the mentally calm from the mentally chaotic. You'll learn the neuroscience behind why some people naturally stay calmer, the ancient wisdom that's been proven by modern research, and the practical strategies you can implement immediately to start experiencing deeper peace and unshakable confidence. By the end of this journey, you won't just understand calmness. You'll embody it. You'll become the person others look to when everything falls apart. Because you'll have trained your mind to find peace in any storm. Chapter 1. The Hidden Cost of Mental Chaos. Before we can build unshakable calmness, we need to understand exactly what we're fighting against. Mental chaos isn't just uncomfortable. It's one of the most expensive problems you'll ever face. And most people have no idea how much it's costing them every single day. Let's start with your brain under stress. When you're mentally chaotic, your brain activates what neuroscientists call the sympathetic nervous system. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals were designed to help you fight or flee from immediate physical threats like a wild animal. But in modern life, this system activates for emails, traffic jams, difficult conversations, and deadline pressure. Here's the problem. When your brain is in this state, it literally shuts down your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logical thinking, creativity, and emotional regulation. You become biologically incapable of making good decisions. Your memory suffers. Your immune system weakens. Your ability to connect with others diminishes. You're essentially operating on mental survival mode when you should be thriving. The cost shows up everywhere in your career. Mental chaos leads to poor decision decreased productivity, and damaged relationships with colleagues. You react instead of respond. You make choices based on fear instead of logic. You miss opportunities because anxiety clouds your judgment. Research from Harvard Business School shows that professionals who can't manage their mental state earn significantly less over their lifetime than those who remain calm under pressure. In your relationships, mental chaos is even more destructive. When you're internally agitated, you project that energy onto everyone around you. You misinterpret neutral comments as attacks. You create conflict where none existed. You push away the people you care about most because your reactive mind sees threats everywhere. Your partner, your children, your friends, they all feel the ripple effects of your inner turbulence. But perhaps the highest cost is to your potential. When your mind is chaotic, you can't access your full capabilities. You second-guess yourself. You procrastinate on important decisions. You avoid challenges that could lead to growth. You live smaller than you're meant to live because chaos makes everything feel overwhelming and impossible. The medical costs are staggering, too. Chronic stress from mental chaos leads to heart disease, diabetes, depression, anxiety disorders, and countless other health problems. The American Medical Association estimates that stress-related illnesses account for up to 90% of all doctor visits. You're literally aging yourself faster and destroying your body from the inside out. And here's what's truly tragic. Most people accept this as normal. They think constant worry is just part of adult life. They believe that successful people are naturally more stressed. They've been conditioned to think that calmness equals laziness or lack of ambition. This couldn't be further from the truth. The most successful people in every field, from business to sports to arts, have one thing in common. They've learned to maintain mental calmness even in high-pressure situations. They understand that clarity comes from stillness, not chaos. They know that their mind is their most valuable asset and they treat it accordingly. Think about surgeons performing life-saving operations, fighter pilots flying at supersonic speeds, negotiators handling million-dollar deals, elite athletes competing on the world stage. They all operate in extremely high-pressure environments, but they've trained their minds to remain calm and focused. This isn't because they don't feel pressure. It's because they've learned to transform pressure into power. The neuroscience is clear. A calm mind processes information faster, makes better decisions, remembers more effectively, and connects with others more deeply. When you're mentally calm, you access what researchers call flow state, where time seems to slow down, solutions appear effortlessly, and you perform at your absolute peak. But here's the good news. Mental chaos isn't permanent. It's not who you are. It's simply how your mind has been conditioned to operate. And just like you can train your body to become stronger and more flexible, you can train your mind to become calmer and more resilient. The techniques you're about to learn have been tested by millions of people across thousands of years. They work for CEOs and stay-at-home parents, for introverts and extroverts, for young people and old people. They'll work for you, too, if you're willing to put in the effort. Chapter 2. The Neuroscience of Unshakable Calm. Your brain is not fixed. This might be the most important thing you ever learn about mental calmness. For decades, scientists believed that adult brains couldn't change, that you were stuck with whatever neural patterns you developed in childhood. This has been proven completely wrong. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity, which means it's constantly rewiring itself based on how you use it. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every reaction you have is literally carving neural pathways in your brain. Think of these pathways like trails through a forest. The more often you walk down a particular trail, the more worn and obvious it becomes. The less you use a trail, the more it gets overgrown and disappears. Right now, you have well-worn neural pathways for anxiety, stress, and reactivity because that's how you've been training your brain, but you can create new pathways for calmness, clarity, and thoughtful response. The brain doesn't care which pathways you strengthen. It simply reinforces whatever patterns you repeat most often. This process happens through something called myelination. Every time you practice staying calm in a challenging situation, your brain wraps those neural pathways in a fatty substance called myelin, which makes the signals travel faster and more efficiently. It's like upgrading from a dirt road to a superhighway. The more you practice calmness, the more automatic it becomes. Scientists have studied the brains of people who meditate regularly and the results are remarkable. After just 8 weeks of meditation practice, brain scans show increased gray matter in areas associated with emotional regulation, empathy, and self-awareness. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, actually shrinks, becoming less reactive to stress. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex responsible for executive function and decision-making becomes more active and better connected to other brain regions. But you don't need to become a monk to experience these benefits. Dr. Sarah Lazar at Harvard Medical School found that even short daily practices can create measurable changes in brain structure. People who practice just 20 minutes of mindfulness daily for 8 weeks showed the same brain changes as long-term meditators. Let's understand what happens in your brain when you're truly calm. Your parasympathetic nervous system, often called the rest and digest system, becomes dominant. Your heart rate slows and becomes more variable, which actually indicates better cardiovascular health. Your breathing naturally deepens and slows. Your muscles release tension. Your digestive system functions properly. Your immune system strengthens. Most importantly, your prefrontal cortex comes online fully. This is your brain's CEO, responsible for planning, decision, emotional regulation, and impulse control. When you're calm, this part of your brain can communicate effectively with all other regions, creating what neuroscientists call coherence. Your entire nervous system works in harmony. In this state, you access what researchers call the zone or flow state. Time seems to slow down. Your perception becomes incredibly clear. Solutions to problems appear almost effortlessly. You feel connected to everything around you. This isn't some mystical experience. It's simply your brain operating at its optimal level. The key insight from neuroscience is that you have far more control over your mental state than you realize. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment for threats, but it's also constantly looking to you for guidance through your breath, your posture, your thoughts, and your actions. You're constantly sending signals to your brain about whether it should be in survival mode or thriving mode. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford, explains that your brain has something called neuromodulators, chemical systems that can shift your entire mental state in seconds. By learning to influence these systems consciously, you can literally change your brain chemistry on demand. One of the most powerful discoveries is that your brain can't tell the difference between something that's actually happening and something you're vividly imagining. This means you can practice staying calm in challenging situations even when you're not currently facing any challenges. Mental rehearsal creates the same neural pathways as real experience. Professional athletes have been using this principle for decades. They visualize perfect performances over and over, and their brains develop the neural patterns for success. You can do the same thing with calmness by repeatedly imagining yourself staying perfectly calm in difficult situations. You're literally programming your brain to respond that way automatically. The research on gratitude is particularly fascinating. When you focus on what you're grateful for, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, the same chemicals targeted by antidepressant medications. But unlike medications, gratitude has no side effects and becomes more effective the more you practice it. Mirror neurons add another layer to this understanding. These specialized brain cells fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action. This means that simply spending time around calm people helps train your own brain for calmness. Conversely, spending time around anxious, reactive people reinforces those patterns in your own mind. Understanding the neuroscience gives you tremendous power because it proves that calmness isn't a fixed personality trait. It's a skill that can be developed through specific practices. Your brain is already equipped with everything you need to experience profound peace and unshakable confidence. You just need to learn how to activate these natural systems consistently. Chapter 3. Breaking Free from the Anxiety Addiction. Here's a truth that might shock you. Most people are addicted to anxiety and they don't even know it. This isn't a moral judgment or a character flaw. It's a neurological reality that explains why so many people struggle to find lasting calmness despite wanting it desperately. Your brain operates on a simple principle. It seeks patterns that feel familiar, even if those patterns are harmful. If you grew up in an environment where anxiety, worry, and stress were normal, your brain learned to associate these states with safety and belonging. Calmness, ironically, can feel dangerous to a brain that's been conditioned to expect chaos. This is why many people sabotage their own peace. Just when things start going well, they find something to worry about. They create drama in relationships. They procrastinate on important projects until the deadline pressure kicks in. They feel uncomfortable when life is too smooth because their nervous system has been trained to expect turbulence. The addiction works through your brain's reward system. When you're anxious or stressed, your brain releases a cocktail of chemicals, including adrenaline, cortisol, and even small amounts of dopamine. This creates a biochemical high that your brain learns to crave. You become unconsciously addicted to the intensity of stress because it feels more alive than the quiet contentment of peace. Social media and modern culture feed this addiction relentlessly. Every notification triggers a small stress response. Every news update activates your survival instincts. Every social comparison floods your system with anxiety chemicals. You're essentially mainlining stress all day long, and your brain adapts by expecting and craving these constant hits of intensity. The identification trap is another layer of this addiction. Many people have built their entire identity around being busy, stressed, or overwhelmed. They wear their anxiety like a badge of honor. They bond with others through shared complaints and worries. They secretly fear that if they become too calm, they'll lose their edge, their drive, or their connection to others. This is particularly common among high achievers who believe their success comes from their anxiety. They think worry is what keeps them motivated and stress is what drives their performance. But research consistently shows the opposite. Calm people outperform anxious people in virtually every measurable way. Anxiety doesn't create success, it limits it. Breaking free from anxiety addiction requires recognizing these unconscious patterns. Start paying attention to when you create unnecessary stress in your life. Notice when you amplify small problems into major crisis. Observe when you resist feelings of peace and contentment. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. Your brain's negativity bias also feeds this addiction. Evolution programmed your mind to focus on threats and problems because this helped your ancestors survive. But in modern life, this same tendency keeps you constantly scanning for what's wrong, what could go wrong, and what might go wrong. You literally train your brain to find problems even when none exist. The comparison trap amplifies anxiety addiction exponentially. Social media presents you with carefully curated highlights of other people's lives, triggering constant feelings of inadequacy. Your brain interprets these comparisons as threats to your social status and survival, flooding your system with stress chemicals. You become addicted to the drama of feeling behind, less successful, or somehow inadequate. Future tripping is another manifestation of anxiety addiction. Your mind becomes obsessed with controlling outcomes that haven't happened yet and may never happen. You spend enormous amounts of mental energy worrying about possibilities instead of dealing with realities. This creates a chronic state of tension that your nervous system begins to expect and crave. The perfectionism connection runs deep in anxiety addiction. Many people use worry as a form of magical thinking, believing that if they stress enough about something, they can prevent bad outcomes. Perfectionism provides the illusion of control, but it actually increases anxiety and decreases performance. Your brain becomes addicted to the false sense of control that constant vigilance provides. Breaking this addiction isn't about eliminating all stress from your life. Stress in appropriate doses can be beneficial and motivating. The goal is to shift from chronic low-grade anxiety to acute purposeful engagement when it's actually needed. Think of it like the difference between a smoke alarm that goes off constantly versus one that only activates when there's an actual fire. The withdrawal process from anxiety addiction can be uncomfortable at first. When you start practicing genuine calmness, your brain might interpret this as something being wrong. You might feel guilty for not worrying. You might feel disconnected from others who are still operating in anxiety mode. You might even feel bored without the constant stimulation of stress. This is normal and temporary. Your brain is simply adjusting to a new baseline. Like any addiction recovery, there will be moments when you want to return to familiar patterns of worry and stress. The key is recognizing these moments as part of the healing process, not evidence that calmness doesn't work for you. The beautiful truth is that once your brain adjusts to operating from calmness instead of anxiety, you'll wonder how you ever lived any other way. Peace becomes your natural state. Challenges become opportunities for growth instead of threats to your survival. You'll have access to creativity, intuition, and clarity that were impossible when your mind was constantly hijacked by stress. Chapter 4. The Ancient Art of Present Moment Awareness. Every spiritual tradition, every wisdom school, every enlightened teacher throughout history has pointed to the same fundamental truth. Peace exists only in the present moment. This isn't philosophical rhetoric or spiritual bypassing. It's a practical reality that modern neuroscience has confirmed. The present moment is the only place where true calmness can be found. Your mind creates suffering by constantly time traveling. It replays past events, analyzing what went wrong, who was to blame, and how things could have been different. It projects into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, trying to control outcomes, and creating anxiety about things that haven't happened and may never happen. This mental time travel is the source of virtually all psychological suffering. When you're fully present, worry becomes impossible. Anxiety cannot exist in the now because anxiety is always about something that might happen later. Regret cannot exist in the now because regret is always about something that happened earlier. Depression often stems from being stuck in the past. While anxiety comes from being lost in the future, the present moment is naturally peaceful because it's the only moment that actually exists. But presence isn't just the absence of mental time travel. It's a profound state of awareness where you become intimately connected with reality as it actually is rather than as your mind thinks it should be. In this state, you stop fighting what's happening and start working with it skillfully. You stop trying to control everything and start responding to everything. The breath is your most reliable anchor to the present moment. Unlike your thoughts, which can spiral into past and future, your breath only exists right now. Every inhale and exhale happens in this moment. When you focus your attention on your breathing, you automatically return to presence. But breathing for calmness isn't just about paying attention to your breath. It's about understanding how your breathing pattern directly influences your nervous system. When you're anxious or stressed, your breathing becomes shallow, rapid, and irregular. This sends signals to your brain that you're in danger, which triggers more stress hormones and creates a vicious cycle. Conscious breathing breaks this cycle instantly. When you deliberately slow and deepen your breath, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which signals to your brain that you're safe. Your heart rate slows, your blood pressure drops, your muscles relax, your mind clears. This isn't just relaxation, it's a fundamental shift in your neurological state. The 478 breathing technique is particularly powerful for instant calm. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, and exhale through your mouth for 8 counts. The extended exhale is key because it activates your vagus nerve, which is the main pathway of your parasympathetic nervous system. Just a few rounds of this breathing pattern can shift you from anxiety to calmness in under a minute. Body awareness is another gateway to presence. Your body only exists in the present moment. It can't be in the past or future. When you tune into physical sensations, you automatically return to now. Start with your feet on the ground. Feel the temperature, pressure, and texture. Move your attention slowly up through your legs, torso, arms, and head. Notice areas of tension and areas of ease without trying to change anything. This practice, called a body scan, not only brings you into presence, but also helps you identify where you're holding stress physically. Most people carry chronic tension in their shoulders, jaw, or stomach without realizing it. This physical tension sends constant stress signals to your brain, maintaining a state of low-grade anxiety even when there's nothing to be anxious about. Sound awareness offers another pathway to presence right now. Notice all the sounds around you. Don't label them or judge them. Simply listen. You might hear traffic voices, air conditioning, birds, or your own heartbeat. Sound always happens in the present moment. So focusing on sound naturally brings you into now. The practice of noting is incredibly effective for developing present moment awareness throughout your day. Simply note what's happening without getting lost in stories about what's happening, thinking, feeling angry, planning, remembering, worrying. This creates space between you and your mental activities, allowing you to observe your mind rather than being completely identified with it. Many people resist present moment awareness because they believe they need to think constantly to be productive or solve problems. But research shows that your best insights and solutions come from a calm, present mind, not from anxious mental spinning. When you're present, you have access to intuition, creativity, and wisdom that are impossible to reach when your mind is scattered. The key insight is that presence is always available to you. No matter how chaotic your external circumstances, no matter how intense your emotions, you can always return to this moment through your breath, your body, or your immediate sensory experience. The present moment is your refuge, your reset button, and your source of infinite peace. Presence isn't a technique you practice occasionally. It's a way of living. The more you cultivate present moment awareness, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you'll find yourself naturally grounded in the present, even during challenging situations. This is when you'll experience the unshakable calm that comes from being fully aligned with reality as it is. Chapter 5. Emotional Mastery Through Mindful Observation. Most people believe they are their emotions. When anger arises, they become an angry person. When sadness appears, they identify as depressed. When anxiety surfaces, they feel like they are fundamentally anxious. This identification with emotional states is one of the primary obstacles to developing unshakable calm. The truth is you are not your emotions. You are the awareness that observes emotions. This distinction isn't philosophical semantics. It's a practical reality that changes everything about how you relate to your inner experience. When you learn to observe emotions rather than becoming them, you develop the capacity to remain calm even when powerful feelings are present. Emotions are like weather patterns in the sky of your consciousness. Sometimes there are storms, sometimes there's sunshine, sometimes it's cloudy, but the sky itself remains unchanged by whatever weather passes through it. You are the sky, not the weather. This perspective allows you to experience emotions fully without being overwhelmed or controlled by them. Mindful observation starts with creating space between the initial emotional impulse and your reaction. Most people go directly from feeling to action without any pause. They feel angry and immediately lash out. They feel anxious and immediately start worrying. They feel sad and immediately sink into depression. This automatic reactivity is what creates chaos in relationships and life. The pause is where your power lies. In that space between feeling and reacting, you have choice. You can acknowledge the emotion without being controlled by it. You can feel angry without acting aggressively. You can experience anxiety without believing anxious thoughts. You can notice sadness without identifying as a sad person. Learning to name emotions accurately is crucial for this process. Most people have a very limited emotional vocabulary. They know happy, sad, angry, and maybe a few others. But there are hundreds of distinct emotional states. And the more precisely you can identify what you're feeling, the more power you have over it. Instead of "I'm stressed," you might identify "I'm feeling overwhelmed by too many competing priorities." Instead of "I'm angry," you might recognize "I'm feeling frustrated because my expectations weren't met." This precision helps you understand what's actually happening and respond more skillfully. The RAIN technique is incredibly powerful for emotional mastery. RAIN stands for recognize, allow, investigate, and non-identification. First, recognize what emotion is present without immediately trying to change it. Second, allow the emotion to be there without resistance. Third, investigate the emotion with curiosity rather than judgment. Finally, remember that you are not this emotion. It's simply something you're experiencing. Most people try to push away uncomfortable emotions, which only makes them stronger. What you resist persists. When you fight against anger, you create more anger. When you struggle against anxiety, you amplify anxiety. When you avoid sadness, you prolong sadness. Acceptance doesn't mean you like the emotion. It means you stop fighting it. This acceptance creates space for the emotion to move through you naturally. Emotions are energy in motion and they want to flow. When you don't resist them, they often dissipate much more quickly than when you fight against them. Think of emotions like waves in the ocean. If you dive under a wave, it passes over you harmlessly. If you fight against it, it can knock you down. Understanding the difference between pain and suffering is essential for emotional mastery. Pain is the immediate emotional response to a situation. Suffering is the story you tell yourself about the pain. Pain is inevitable in human life. Suffering is optional and created by your mental resistance to what's happening. For example, if someone criticizes your work, the immediate sting of disappointment is pain. But if you then spend hours replaying the criticism, imagining what others think, questioning your abilities, and creating elaborate stories about what this means about you, that's suffering. The initial pain might last seconds, but the suffering can go on indefinitely. Mindful observation helps you see this distinction clearly. You can acknowledge the initial emotional impact without buying into the mental stories that create prolonged suffering. You can feel disappointed without concluding that you're a failure. You can experience rejection without deciding that you're unlovable. The practice of emotional surfing teaches you to ride emotional waves rather than being crashed by them. When a strong emotion arises, instead of being overwhelmed, you can observe its qualities. How does anger feel in your body? Where do you sense anxiety most strongly? What does sadness actually feel like when you pay close attention? This investigation reveals that emotions are actually quite temporary and constantly changing. What feels overwhelming at first often shifts and transforms when you observe it mindfully. You start to see that emotions have a natural life cycle. They arise, peak, and pass away. Just like everything else in nature, developing emotional mastery doesn't mean becoming emotionally numb or disconnected. It means developing the capacity to feel deeply while maintaining your center. It means being able to experience the full spectrum of human emotions without being destabilized by them. This is true strength, not emotional suppression. Chapter 6. The breath is your instant reset button. Your breath is the most powerful tool you have for instant calmness. Yet 99% of people use only a fraction of its potential. Every single breath you take sends direct signals to your nervous system, telling your brain whether you're safe or in danger. Master your breath, and you master your state of mind in any situation. The average person takes between 12 to 20 breaths per minute when at rest. But here's what's shocking. Most people breathe incorrectly their entire lives. They breathe shallow, quick breaths from their chest instead of deep, slow breaths from their diaphragm. This chest breathing actually triggers stress responses in your body, keeping you in a constant state of low-grade anxiety. Watch a baby sleep and you'll see perfect breathing. Their belly rises and falls with each breath while their chest barely moves. This is how humans are designed to breathe. Somewhere along the way, stress, poor posture, and cultural conditioning teach us to breathe from our chest, creating a chronic state of physiological tension. Diaphragmatic breathing is your first line of defense against any stressful situation. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. When you breathe correctly, the hand on your belly should move significantly while the hand on your chest remains relatively still. This engages your diaphragm, the large muscle beneath your lungs that's designed to do most of the work of breathing. The 478 technique is incredibly powerful for instant calm. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, and breathe out through your mouth for 8 counts. The extended exhale is crucial because it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. Do this 4 times and you'll feel a noticeable shift in your mental state. But breathing for calmness goes far beyond simple techniques. Your breath rate directly influences your heart rate variability, which is one of the best indicators of stress resilience. When you breathe at approximately 5 breaths per minute, you create something called coherence, where your heart rate, blood pressure, and nervous system all synchronize in optimal harmony. Box breathing used by Navy SEALs and emergency responders creates this coherence quickly. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Repeat this pattern for at least 2 minutes. This technique is so effective that it's taught to people who regularly face life or death situations because it maintains clear thinking under extreme pressure. The physiological sigh is another incredibly powerful tool discovered by neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman. Take a normal inhale through your nose. Then take a second smaller inhale on top of it. Then exhale slowly through your mouth. This double inhale followed by a long exhale directly calms your nervous system faster than any other breathing technique. Understanding the mechanics makes these techniques even more powerful. When you inhale, your heart rate naturally increases slightly. When you exhale, your heart rate decreases. By extending your exhales longer than your inhales, you're literally hacking your nervous system to shift into calm mode. This isn't placebo effect. It's basic physiology. Breath awareness throughout the day transforms your baseline stress level. Most people only think about their breathing when they're already stressed. But if you check in with your breath regularly when you're calm, you develop the sensitivity to notice when stress is building before it overwhelms you. Set gentle reminders throughout your day to take 3 conscious breaths. The 3-part breath creates deep relaxation by engaging your entire respiratory system. First, breathe into your belly, feeling it expand. Then, continue the inhale into your ribs, feeling them widen. Finally, fill the top of your lungs near your collarbones. Exhale in reverse order: chest, ribs, belly. This complete breath oxygenates your entire body and signals profound safety to your nervous system. Alternate nostril breathing balances your nervous system in a unique way. Using your thumb and ring finger, close your right nostril and inhale through your left. Close your left nostril and exhale through your right. Inhale through your right, close it and exhale through your left. This completes 1 round. Continue for 5 to 10 rounds. This ancient technique literally balances the left and right sides of your brain. The power of conscious exhaling cannot be overstated. Your exhale is your release valve for tension, stress, and negative emotions. Many people hold their breath or breathe shallowly when stressed, which traps tension in their body. Learning to exhale fully and completely allows you to release whatever you don't need to carry. Breath retention builds your stress tolerance and lung capacity. After a normal inhale, exhale completely and hold your breath for as long as comfortable. This isn't about pushing yourself to discomfort. It's about gradually expanding your capacity. As your breath retention improves, your ability to stay calm in challenging situations improves proportionally. The humming breath creates vibrations that massage your vagus nerve, the main pathway of your parasympathetic nervous system. Take a normal breath in, then hum as you exhale, feeling the vibration in your chest and throat. This simple technique is incredibly soothing and can be done anywhere without drawing attention. Coherent breathing at 5 breaths per minute is perhaps the most powerful technique for building long-term resilience. Breathe in for 6 counts and out for 6 counts, creating a smooth rhythmic pattern. Practice this for 10 to 20 minutes daily and you'll notice profound changes in your stress reactivity within just a few weeks. The key insight is that your breath is always available to you. No matter how chaotic your external environment, no matter how intense your emotions, you can always return to your breath and find instant relief. This makes breathing the most practical and accessible tool for developing unshakable calm. Most importantly, understand that breathing techniques aren't just for crisis moments. The more you practice conscious breathing when you're already calm, the more effective these techniques become when you really need them. Your breath is like a muscle that gets stronger with regular exercise. Chapter 7: Cognitive Alchemy, Transforming Thoughts into Peace. Your thoughts create your reality. But here's what most people don't understand. You have far more control over your thoughts than you realize. The average person has between 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day. And research shows that 80% of these thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive. This means most people are unconsciously programming themselves for anxiety, stress, and limitation every single day. Cognitive alchemy is the art of transforming negative thought patterns into sources of strength and peace. It's not about positive thinking or pretending problems don't exist. It's about developing the skill to observe your thoughts objectively and consciously choose which ones deserve your attention and which ones should be released. The first step is understanding that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts arise in your consciousness like clouds arise in the sky. But you are the sky, not the clouds. This perspective creates space between you and your mental activity, allowing you to observe thoughts without being controlled by them. When you can watch your thoughts like a scientist studying data, you gain tremendous power over your mental state. Thought labeling is one of the most effective techniques for creating this space. Instead of getting caught up in the content of your thoughts, simply label them. Worrying, planning, remembering, judging, fantasizing. This simple act of labeling activates your prefrontal cortex and reduces the emotional intensity of the thought. You're essentially stepping back and observing your mind in action. The 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique interrupts anxious thought spirals immediately. When you notice your mind racing, identify 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This grounds you in sensory reality and breaks the cycle of mental spinning. Understanding cognitive distortions gives you tremendous power over anxious thinking. Your brain has predictable ways of distorting reality when you're stressed. All or nothing thinking makes you see everything as either perfect or terrible. Catastrophizing makes you imagine worst-case scenarios. Mind readating makes you assume you know what others are thinking. Mental filtering makes you focus only on negative aspects while ignoring positive ones. Once you can identify these distortions, you can challenge them directly. When you catch yourself catastrophizing, ask what's the most likely outcome, not the worst possible outcome. When you notice all or nothing thinking, ask what's the middle ground here. When you're mind reading, ask, what evidence do I actually have for this assumption? The Byron Katie method of inquiry transforms any stressful thought through 4 simple questions. First, is it true? Second, can you absolutely know that it's true? Third, how do you react when you believe that thought? Fourth, who would you be without that thought? Then turn the thought around and find examples of how the opposite might be true. This process reveals how much suffering comes from believing unexamined thoughts. Reframing is perhaps the most powerful cognitive tool for instant calm. Every situation can be viewed from multiple perspectives and you have the power to choose which perspective serves you best. A job loss can be seen as a disaster or as an opportunity for something better. A relationship ending can be viewed as rejection or as freedom to find true compatibility. A health challenge can be seen as punishment or as motivation to live more fully. The key to effective reframing isn't denial or false optimism. It's finding genuinely useful ways to interpret challenging situations. Ask yourself, how might this situation benefit me in the long run? What can I learn from this experience? How might this redirect me towards something better? What opportunities does this create that wouldn't have existed otherwise? Thought stopping interrupts rumination before it gains momentum. When you notice yourself starting to worry or replay negative scenarios, say, stop. Either out loud or in your mind, then immediately redirect your attention to something else. This might seem simplistic, but it's incredibly effective because it breaks the neural pathway before it becomes reinforced. The worry window technique contains anxious thinking to specific times rather than letting it dominate your entire day. Set aside 15 minutes daily for worrying. Write down everything you're concerned about. Then brainstorm actionable steps for the things you can control and consciously release the things you can't outside of this worry window. When anxious thoughts arise, remind yourself that you'll address them during your designated worry time. Gratitude thinking rewires your brain for positivity by actively seeking what's working in your life. Your brain has a negativity bias that automatically scans for problems and threats. Gratitude practice counteracts this by training your mind to notice beauty, abundance, and positive experiences. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about developing a more balanced and accurate perception of reality. The cognitive load theory explains why overwhelm happens and how to prevent it. Your conscious mind can only hold about 7 pieces of information at once when you try to juggle too many thoughts, decisions, or concerns simultaneously. Your mental processing becomes inefficient and anxiety increases. The solution is to externalize your thinking through writing. Create systems for routine decisions and focus on one thing at a time. Metacognition, or thinking about thinking, develops your capacity to observe your mental processes objectively. Most people are completely unconscious of their thought patterns. They think the same thoughts repeatedly without ever questioning whether these thoughts are accurate, helpful, or necessary. Developing metacognitive awareness allows you to step back and evaluate your thinking patterns like a wise counselor. The thought record technique helps you examine anxious thoughts systematically. Write down the situation that triggered anxiety. Identify the specific thought that created distress. Rate your belief in this thought from 0 to 100. Examine the evidence for and against this thought. Develop a more balanced perspective and re-rate your belief in the original thought. This process usually reveals that your initial anxious thoughts were much more extreme than reality warranted. Understanding the difference between productive and unproductive worry gives you permission to release mental energy that's not serving you. Productive worry leads to problem solving and action. Unproductive worry loops endlessly without creating solutions. If you can do something about a concern, make a plan and take action. If you can't do anything about it, practice releasing it through breath, movement, or mental redirection. The power of cognitive alchemy lies in consistency. Every time you catch and redirect a negative thought pattern, you're literally rewiring your brain. Every time you choose a more empowering perspective, you're strengthening neural pathways for resilience. Over time, these practices become automatic, and you'll find yourself naturally thinking in ways that support your peace and well-being. Chapter 8. Building Stress Immunity Through Controlled Exposure. Just like your body develops immunity to diseases through exposure to small amounts of pathogens, your mind can develop immunity to stress through controlled exposure to manageable challenges. This process, called stress inoculation, is one of the most powerful ways to build unshakable calm that lasts even in genuinely difficult situations. Most people try to avoid stress completely, which actually makes them more vulnerable when challenging situations inevitably arise. It's like trying to build physical strength without ever lifting weights. Your stress tolerance is like a muscle that must be exercised regularly to stay strong without regular challenge. It atrophies, leaving you fragile and reactive. Hormesis is the scientific principle behind stress immunity. Small doses of stress actually strengthen your system while large doses can damage it. The key is finding the optimal level of challenge that pushes your comfort zone without overwhelming your capacity. This sweet spot is where growth happens and resilience develops. Cold exposure is one of the most effective forms of stress inoculation. Taking cold showers, ice baths, or even splashing cold water on your face triggers your sympathetic nervous system in a controlled way. When you learn to stay calm and breathe deeply while experiencing cold stress, you're literally training your nervous system to remain composed under pressure. Start with 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your normal shower. Focus on deep, controlled breathing rather than tensing up or rushing through it. Gradually increase the duration as your tolerance builds. The goal isn't to suffer. It's to practice maintaining calm awareness while your body experiences stress signals. The Wim Hof method combines cold exposure with specific breathing techniques for maximum stress immunity. The breathing protocol involves 30 deep breaths followed by a breath retention repeated for 3 rounds. This creates a controlled stress response that trains your nervous system to recover quickly from activation. Combined with cold exposure, This method builds remarkable resilience. Physical exercise, especially high-intensity interval training, provides another form of beneficial stress. When you push your body to its limits during exercise, you're practicing staying calm under physical pressure. The key is maintaining conscious breathing and mental focus even when your heart rate is elevated and your muscles are fatigued. Mental challenges like public speaking, learning new skills, or having difficult conversations also build stress immunity. Each time you voluntarily face something that makes you nervous, you're expanding your comfort zone and proving to yourself that you can handle discomfort. The more you practice being uncomfortable, the less power discomfort has over you. The key to effective stress inoculation is gradual progression. You wouldn't try to lift the heaviest weight on your first day at the gym. And you shouldn't jump into the most challenging stresses immediately. Start with manageable challenges and gradually increase the difficulty as your capacity grows. Intermittent fasting creates beneficial stress at the cellular level while also building mental discipline. When you voluntarily choose to delay gratification and sit with the discomfort of hunger, you're strengthening your willpower and stress tolerance. Start with a 12-hour fast and gradually increase to 16 or 18 hours as it becomes comfortable. Breath-holding exercises build both physical and mental resilience. After a normal exhale, hold your breath for as long as comfortable. Then breathe normally for a minute and repeat. This creates a mild stress response that trains your nervous system to stay calm when oxygen levels fluctuate. It also builds confidence in your body's ability to handle challenging sensations. Social challenges like initiating conversations with strangers, expressing unpopular opinions, or setting boundaries with difficult people build psychological resilience. Each time you do something socially uncomfortable, you're proving to yourself that rejection or judgment isn't actually dangerous. This reduces the power of social anxiety over your behavior. The crucial element in stress inoculation is your mental approach. You must view these challenges as training rather than suffering. Each uncomfortable moment is making you stronger and more resilient. Each time you maintain calm under pressure, you're building confidence in your ability to handle whatever life presents. Recovery protocols are just as important as the stress exposure itself. After any form of stress inoculation, spend time in parasympathetic recovery through deep breathing, gentle movement, warm baths, or meditation. This teaches your nervous system to return to baseline quickly after activation, which is a key marker of resilience. Progressive muscle relaxation combined with stress exposure creates a powerful combination. Practice tensing and relaxing different muscle groups while experiencing mild stressors. This teaches you to maintain physical relaxation even when your nervous system is activated, which is an advanced skill that serves you in all challenging situations. The psychological benefits of stress inoculation extend far beyond just handling stress better. Each time you voluntarily face discomfort and come through it successfully, you build evidence that you're capable of handling whatever life presents. This creates genuine confidence based on actual experience rather than just positive thinking. Visualization can supplement physical stress inoculation effectively. Mentally rehearse yourself staying calm in challenging situations. See yourself breathing deeply during a difficult conversation, maintaining composure when receiving criticism, or staying centered during a crisis. Your brain treats vivid mental rehearsal almost like real experience. The compound effect of stress inoculation builds over time. Each small challenge you face voluntarily makes you slightly more resilient. Over months and years, this accumulates into unshakable confidence and calm. You become the kind of person others naturally look to during difficult times because you've systematically trained yourself to thrive under pressure. Understanding that stress is not the enemy changes everything about how you relate to challenging situations. Stress becomes feedback, training, and opportunity for growth rather than something to avoid at all costs. This shift in perspective alone dramatically reduces the psychological impact of stressful events. Chapter 9. Social Calm. Maintaining peace around difficult people. One of the greatest tests of your mental calmness is your ability to remain centered when dealing with difficult people. You can master breathing techniques and thought management. But if someone else's anger, criticism, or negative energy can instantly destabilize you, your calm remains fragile and conditional. True unshakable calm means maintaining your peace regardless of how others are behaving. Understanding projection is crucial for social calm. When people are angry, critical, or hostile, they're almost always projecting their own inner turmoil onto you. Their behavior says far more about their internal state than it does about you or the situation. A person who is truly at peace doesn't attack others. Aggression, criticism, and hostility are symptoms of inner suffering, not accurate assessments of your worth or actions. This doesn't mean you should excuse harmful behavior or fail to set appropriate boundaries. It means you can respond to difficult people from a place of understanding rather than reactive emotion. When you realize that someone's hostility comes from their own pain, you can maintain compassion while still protecting yourself effectively. The energy field concept helps explain why some people affect your calm more than others. Every person emits an energetic frequency based on their emotional state. Anxious people radiate anxiety. Angry people radiate hostility. Calm people radiate peace. When you're around someone, you're constantly being influenced by their energetic state. Unless you learn to maintain your own center, energetic boundaries are just as important as physical boundaries. Before entering challenging social situations, visualize yourself surrounded by a protective bubble of calm energy. Imagine negative emotions bouncing off this bubble rather than penetrating into your system. This isn't just visualization, it's a real technique that helps you maintain your state. Regardless of external influences, the gray rock method is effective for dealing with people who thrive on drama and conflict. When someone is trying to provoke an emotional reaction from you, become as boring and unresponsive as possible. Give short, neutral answers. Don't share personal information. Avoid engaging with their attempts to create drama. Most people who seek conflict will lose interest and move on to more reactive targets. Emotional contagion explains why you might feel drained or agitated after spending time with certain people. Humans are wired to mirror the emotional states of those around them. This was helpful for survival in prehistoric times. But in modern life, it can mean absorbing other people's stress, anxiety, or anger without realizing it. Developing emotional immunity requires conscious awareness of your state before, during, and after social interactions. Check in with yourself regularly. Are you feeling more tense, more anxious, more irritated? If so, you're absorbing energy that doesn't belong to you. Use breathing techniques and grounding practices to release what isn't yours and return to your natural state. The pause and breathe response prevents reactive behavior that you'll regret later. When someone says something that triggers anger or defensiveness, take a slow, deep breath before responding. This activates your prefrontal cortex and prevents your amygdala from hijacking your behavior. Most relationship conflicts could be avoided if people simply paused before reacting to emotional triggers. Active listening diffuses tension and often transforms hostile people into allies. When someone is upset, they usually just want to feel heard and understood. Instead of defending yourself or arguing your point, listen to understand their perspective. Reflect back what you're hearing. Ask clarifying questions. Often once people feel truly heard, their hostility dissolves naturally. The broken record technique maintains your boundaries without escalating conflict. When someone is pressuring you to do something you don't want to do, simply repeat your position calmly and consistently. I understand you'd like me to work this weekend, but I won't be available. Don't justify, argue, or explain extensively. Just repeat your boundary like a broken record until they accept it. Compassionate detachment allows you to care about someone without taking responsibility for their emotional state. You can feel empathy for a person suffering while still maintaining your boundaries and peace. This is especially important with family members or close friends who have chronic emotional problems. You can love someone and support them without absorbing their drama. The Aikido principle applies perfectly to social conflicts. In Aikido, You don't meet force with force, which only creates more conflict. Instead, you redirect the energy in a way that neutralizes the attack while causing minimal harm. In conversations, this means agreeing with whatever truth exists in criticism, redirecting hostile energy into productive discussion, and finding common ground whenever possible. Criticism immunity develops when you understand the difference between feedback and attack. Constructive feedback is specific, actionable, and delivered with good intentions. Attack is general, personal, and intended to hurt rather than help. Learn to extract any useful information from criticism while ignoring the emotional charge behind it. The mirror technique reveals how your own state influences others. People often treat you the way you expect to be treated. If you approach interactions with defensiveness or hostility, you're likely to receive defensiveness or hostility in return. If you approach others with calm, confidence, and respect, you're more likely to receive the same energy back. Setting emotional boundaries means taking responsibility for your own feelings while refusing to take responsibility for others' feelings. You can't control whether someone else gets angry, but you can control whether their anger affects your peace. You can be empathetic without being a sponge for everyone else's emotions. The strategic ignorance approach means consciously choosing not to engage with every provocation or drama that others present. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every conflict requires your participation. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. This preserves your energy for things that actually matter. Understanding manipulation tactics protects you from people who try to destabilize your calm for their own purposes. Emotional manipulators use guilt, fear, obligation, and shame to control others. When you recognize these tactics, they lose their power over you. You can respond to the person's underlying needs without falling for their manipulative strategies. The most important insight about social calm is that you can only control your own behavior and responses. You cannot change other people, fix their problems, or make them treat you better. But you can become so centered in your own peace that external behavior cannot disturb your inner equilibrium. This is true freedom and the foundation of authentic confidence. Chapter 10. Emergency Protocols. Instant calm in crisis moments. No matter how much you practice calmness techniques during peaceful times, there will be moments when life hits you with genuine emergencies, unexpected crises, or overwhelming situations that threaten to completely destabilize your mental state. These are the moments when all your training either proves its worth or reveals where you need more practice. Having emergency protocols ready transforms you from someone who gets overwhelmed by crisis into someone who thrives under pressure. The first 60 seconds of any crisis are crucial. How you respond in that initial minute often determines whether the situation escalates or gets resolved effectively. Most people spend this critical time in shock, panic, or reactive behavior that makes everything worse. Training yourself to have automatic responses for crisis moments gives you a massive advantage when clarity and composure matter most. The stop technique gives you instant access to your higher brain functions when you're feeling overwhelmed. STOP stands for stop what you're doing. Take a breath. Observe what's happening objectively and proceed with conscious choice. This 4-step process can be completed in under 30 seconds and immediately shifts you from reactive mode to responsive mode. The physiological reset sequence works when your body is flooded with stress hormones and your nervous system is in full activation. First, splash cold water on your face or hold ice cubes in your hands. Cold triggers your mammalian dive reflex, which immediately slows your heart rate. Second, do the physiological sigh. Double inhale through your nose, long exhale through your mouth. Third, drop your shoulders and relax your jaw, which releases physical tension that amplifies stress. The 54,321 grounding technique works exceptionally well during panic attacks or overwhelming anxiety. Identify 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This forces your attention into the present moment and out of anxious thinking loops. It's impossible to be fully grounded in your senses and completely overwhelmed simultaneously. Box breathing provides immediate nervous system regulation when you feel your stress response spiraling out of control. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. Repeat this pattern for at least 8 rounds. The consistent rhythm gives your mind something to focus on, while the extended exhales activate your parasympathetic nervous system. The 24-hour rule prevents crisis decisions that you'll regret later. When something shocking or upsetting happens, commit to waiting 24 hours before making any major decisions or taking significant actions. This gives your nervous system time to process the shock and return to baseline. Most crisis decisions made in the first few hours are reactive and poorly thought out. Progressive muscle release works when crisis stress has created physical tension throughout your body. Starting with your toes, tense each muscle group for 5 seconds. Then release and notice the contrast. Move systematically through your entire body. Feet, calves, thighs, abdomen, hands, arms, shoulders, face. This releases accumulated tension and signals safety to your nervous system. The worst-case scenario technique transforms overwhelming situations into manageable problems. Ask yourself, what's the absolute worst thing that could happen here? Then how likely is that worst case? Then if the worst case did happen, how would I handle it? Usually, you'll discover that even worst-case scenarios are survivable and that the likelihood is much lower than your anxiety suggests. Emotional first aid involves treating intense emotions like physical injuries that need immediate care. Acknowledge the emotion without judgment. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, and that's understandable given what's happening. Offer yourself the same compassion you'd give a good friend in the same situation. Remind yourself that intense emotions are temporary and will pass if you don't feed them with catastrophic thinking. The lighthouse visualization creates instant inner stability when everything around you feels chaotic. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse standing strong on rocky cliffs while storms rage around you. The storms are temporary, but you are permanent and unshakable. Your inner light continues to shine regardless of external conditions. This image helps you maintain your center when crisis threatens to sweep you away. Crisis reframming looks for opportunity and growth potential even in difficult situations. Ask yourself, how might this challenge make me stronger? What might I learn from this experience? How could this redirect me towards something better? This isn't about denying the difficulty. It's about maintaining a growth mindset that prevents victim mentality from taking over. The strategic withdrawal technique knows when to remove yourself from overwhelming situations temporarily. If you're in a heated argument, say, I need a few minutes to collect my thoughts, and leave the room. If you're feeling overwhelmed at work, take a brief walk or find a quiet space. Strategic withdrawal isn't avoidance. It's tactical regrouping that allows you to return with clarity and composure. Micro-meditations provide instant reset buttons throughout crisis situations. Take 30 seconds to close your eyes and focus only on your breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. These tiny moments of presence accumulate into significant stress relief and keep you connected to your center throughout prolonged difficult situations. The support system activation protocol means knowing exactly who to call and what resources to access when you're in crisis. Before you need them, identify 3 people you can reach out to for emotional support, practical help, or professional guidance. Having this plan ready prevents the additional stress of trying to figure out who to call when you're already overwhelmed. Energy management during crisis means protecting your resources for what matters most. Crisis situations can drain your mental and emotional energy quickly. Identify what absolutely must be dealt with immediately and what can wait. Let go of perfectionism and focus on good enough solutions. Preserve your energy for the most important decisions and actions. The zoom-out perspective helps when you're feeling completely overwhelmed by current circumstances. Imagine viewing your current crisis from 10 years in the future. How significant will this situation seem a decade from now? This doesn't minimize legitimate problems, but it often reveals that things that feel earth-shattering in the moment are more manageable than they initially appear. Recovery protocols after crisis ensure that you don't carry the stress forward into future situations. After dealing with any emergency or overwhelming situation, deliberately engage in activities that restore your nervous system. Gentle exercise, warm baths, time in nature, connection with loved ones, are practices that bring you joy. This prevents accumulated stress from building up over time. The key insight about emergency protocols is that they must be practiced before you need them. You can't learn to swim while you're drowning. Regular practice of these techniques during calm moments makes them available to you automatically when crisis strikes. The goal isn't to eliminate all stress from crisis situations. It's to maintain enough calm to think clearly and respond effectively rather than being overwhelmed by circumstances. Chapter 11. The Daily Architecture of Unshakable Peace. Calmness isn't something you achieve once and then possess forever. It's something you build day by day through consistent practices that gradually rewire your nervous system and reshape your default responses to life's challenges. The difference between people who occasionally feel calm and those who embody unshakable peace lies in their daily architecture. The small but powerful habits that compound over time into profound transformation. Your morning routine sets the tone for your entire nervous system for the day ahead. Most people wake up and immediately check their phones, flooding their minds with news, emails, social media, and other people's agendas before they've even established their own center. This creates a reactive state that persists throughout the day. Instead, the first 30 minutes of your day should be sacred time devoted to establishing inner calm. Begin each day with conscious breathing before you even get out of bed. Take 10 deep breaths, feeling your body wake up gradually and naturally. This signals to your nervous system that you're safe and in control. Rather than immediately activating stress responses, set an intention for the day. Not just what you want to accomplish, but how you want to feel and respond to whatever challenges arise. The morning meditation practice doesn't require hours of sitting in silence. Even 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation creates measurable changes in your brain's stress reactivity throughout the day. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. When your mind wanders, gently return attention to breathing. This simple practice strengthens your ability to redirect attention away from anxiety and toward peace. Gratitude journaling rewires your brain to notice positive aspects of your life rather than defaulting to problems and concerns. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each morning. But be specific and feel the emotion behind each item. Instead of "I'm grateful for my family," write "I'm grateful for the way my daughter laughed at breakfast yesterday and how it filled my heart with joy." Physical movement in the morning releases tension that accumulated during sleep and prepares your body for the day ahead. This doesn't need to be intense exercise. Gentle stretching, yoga, or a short walk signals to your body that you're awake, alive and ready to engage with life from a grounded place rather than rushing into activity with accumulated tension. Cold exposure through cold showers or ice baths builds stress resilience while simultaneously creating alertness and mental clarity. Start with 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your normal shower. Focus on deep breathing rather than tensing up. This practice trains your nervous system to remain calm under physiological stress, which translates to greater emotional resilience throughout the day. The evening wind-down routine is just as important as your morning routine because it determines the quality of your sleep, which directly affects your stress resilience the next day. Begin winding down at least 1 hour before bedtime. Dim the lights, put away electronic devices, and engage in calming activities that signal to your body that it's time to rest. Digital boundaries protect your mental peace from the constant stimulation and stress of modern technology. Set specific times when you'll check email and social media rather than being constantly available. Turn off non-essential notifications. Create phone-free zones in your bedroom and during meals. Your attention is your most valuable resource, and protecting it is essential for maintaining calm. Mindful transitions between activities prevent the accumulation of stress throughout the day. Before moving from one task to another, take 3 conscious breaths and briefly reset your mental state. This prevents stress from one activity from contaminating the next and helps you approach each situation with fresh awareness rather than carried tension. The micro-practice strategy recognizes that you don't always have time for lengthy meditation or relaxation sessions. Instead, develop a toolkit of techniques that take 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Deep breathing at red lights. Body scans while waiting in line. Gratitude moments during routine activities. These micro-practices maintain your connection to calm throughout busy days. Stress inoculation through daily challenges builds your capacity to handle unexpected difficulties. Voluntarily do something slightly uncomfortable each day. Take a cold shower, have a difficult conversation, try something new, or push yourself physically. This expands your comfort zone gradually and proves to yourself that you can handle discomfort, reducing anxiety about future challenges. Energy management involves recognizing your natural rhythms and working with them rather than against them. Most people have certain times when they feel naturally more calm and focused. Schedule your most challenging tasks during these peak times and protect these periods from interruptions and distractions. Use lower energy times for routine tasks that don't require peak mental performance. The reflection practice at the end of each day helps you learn from experiences and continuously improve your stress management. Ask yourself, when did I feel most calm today? What triggered stress and how did I respond? What can I do differently tomorrow? This builds self-awareness and helps you identify patterns that either support or undermine your peace. Social architecture means consciously choosing who you spend time with and how you engage in relationships. Limit time with people who consistently drain your energy or create drama. Seek out relationships with people who embody the qualities you want to develop. Set boundaries with negative people while cultivating deeper connections with positive influences. Environmental design recognizes that your physical surroundings significantly impact your mental state. Create spaces in your home and workplace that promote calm, organized, clean areas with natural light, plants, and minimal clutter. Remove or minimize exposure to environmental stressors like excessive noise, harsh lighting, or chaotic visual stimuli. The weekly review session helps you maintain perspective and make adjustments to your daily practices. Once a week, assess what's working in your calm building routine and what needs modification. Are you maintaining your morning routine consistently? Which techniques are most effective for you? What new challenges are arising that require different approaches? Seasonal adjustments acknowledge that your needs for calm building practices may change with different life circumstances, seasons, or stress levels. What works during a peaceful period might not be sufficient during high-stress times. Develop a toolkit of practices with varying intensities so you can scale up your support when needed. The compound effect means that small daily actions create massive results over time. Each day you practice conscious breathing. You're slightly more resilient each time you choose calm over reactivity. You're strengthening neural pathways for peace. Each morning routine, each mindful transition, each evening reflection contributes to a fundamental transformation in how you experience life. Understanding that consistency matters more than perfection prevents the all-or-nothing thinking that sabotages many people's efforts. You don't need to execute every practice perfectly every day. You just need to maintain enough consistency that these practices become your natural default rather than something you have to remember to do. The integration phase happens when these practices become so natural that you don't have to think about them consciously. Your nervous system automatically returns to calm after stress. You naturally breathe deeply during challenges. You instinctively take space when you need it. This is when you've truly built unshakable peace rather than just occasionally accessing calm states. Chapter 12. Advanced Mental Training for Pressure Situations. Once you've established the foundation of daily calm through consistent practices, The next level involves training your mind to maintain composure during genuinely high-pressure situations. This is where you develop the kind of unshakable calm that others notice and admire. The ability to remain centered when stakes are high and everyone else is losing their composure. Pressure situations reveal the difference between surface-level relaxation and deep-rooted calm. Anyone can feel peaceful during a quiet morning meditation. But maintaining that same inner stillness during a job interview, difficult conversation, public speaking, or genuine crisis requires advanced mental training. This isn't about eliminating pressure. It's about transforming your relationship with pressure so it becomes fuel for peak performance rather than a source of anxiety. Visualization training prepares your nervous system for high-pressure situations before they occur. Your brain processes vivid mental imagery almost identically to real experiences, which means you can literally practice staying calm in challenging scenarios through detailed mental rehearsal. The key is making your visualizations as realistic and detailed as possible, including all the sensory elements that might trigger stress responses. Begin visualization sessions by imagining yourself in a specific pressure situation. See the environment clearly, hear the sounds, feel the temperature, and any physical sensations. Then visualize yourself breathing deeply, maintaining calm body language, thinking clearly, and responding effectively. See yourself succeeding while staying completely centered. Practice this mental rehearsal regularly and your nervous system will automatically respond with calm when you encounter similar real situations. The pressure breathing technique specifically addresses the tendency for breathing to become shallow and rapid during high-stress moments. When you feel pressure building, immediately implement tactical breathing. Inhale for 4 counts through your nose. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 6 counts through your mouth. The extended exhale is crucial because it activates your parasympathetic nervous system even when your sympathetic system is activated by pressure. Cognitive reframing for pressure situations involves training your mind to interpret high-stakes moments as opportunities rather than threats. Instead of thinking, "I hope I don't mess this up," train yourself to think, "This is my chance to show what I can do." Instead of "Everyone is judging me," think, "I have valuable things to offer." This reframing isn't just positive thinking. It's literally changing the neural pathways that determine your stress response. The anchor technique creates consistent access to calm states even during intense pressure. Identify a physical gesture, word, or mental image that you associate with your calmest, most confident state. Practice accessing this anchor during your daily meditation or relaxation time. With enough repetition, you can trigger this calm state instantly during pressure situations by using your anchor. Stress rehearsal involves intentionally creating mild pressure situations to practice your calm response. This might mean setting artificial deadlines for projects, speaking up in meetings when you'd normally stay quiet, or initiating conversations with people who intimidate you. Each successful navigation of self-imposed pressure builds confidence and proves to your nervous system that you can handle stress effectively. The zone state training teaches you to access flow states during high-pressure situations. Flow is characterized by complete focus, effortless concentration, and optimal performance. To cultivate flow during pressure situations, practice single-pointed attention during daily activities. When pressure arises, focus completely on the task at hand rather than outcomes, consequences, or other people's reactions. Body language mastery recognizes that your physical posture directly influences your mental state and how others perceive you during pressure situations. Practice power poses before high-stress situations. Stand tall with shoulders back, chest open, and arms either on your hips or raised above your head for 2 minutes. This increases testosterone and decreases cortisol, creating biochemical confidence during pressure situations. Maintain open, relaxed body language, even if you don't feel calm internally. Keep your shoulders down, jaw unclenched, and breathing deep. Your body language not only affects how others respond to you, but also sends signals to your own nervous system about whether you're safe or threatened. The meta-perspective technique involves mentally stepping outside of pressure situations to observe them from a broader viewpoint. When you feel overwhelmed by immediate pressures, ask yourself, how will this matter in 5 years? What would I advise a friend in this situation? What's the worst that could realistically happen? And how would I handle it? This perspective creates emotional distance that allows for clearer thinking. Attention training develops your ability to focus on what matters most during pressure situations rather than getting distracted by anxiety, fear, or irrelevant details. Practice sustained attention through meditation, reading challenging material without distraction, or engaging in activities that require intense focus. The stronger your attention muscle, the better you can direct your mental energy during high-pressure moments. The preparation paradox involves preparing thoroughly for pressure situations while simultaneously releasing attachment to specific outcomes. Do everything you can to be ready. Then practice letting go of the results. This combination of preparation and non-attachment creates a state of confident readiness without the anxiety that comes from trying to control outcomes. Energy management for pressure situations means understanding how to conserve and direct your mental and emotional energy for peak performance. Avoid depleting your energy reserves through worry, overthinking, or unnecessary stress before important events. Practice energy conservation techniques like meditation, gentle exercise, and adequate rest in the days leading up to high-pressure situations. The pressure threshold training gradually exposes you to increasing levels of stress so you can maintain calm at higher and higher intensities. Start with mildly challenging situations and practice your calm techniques. As you master lower levels of pressure, gradually increase the stakes and intensity. This systematic approach builds genuine stress tolerance rather than just hoping you'll stay calm when it matters. Recovery protocols after pressure situations prevent accumulated stress and maintain your capacity for future challenges after any high-pressure event. Engage in deliberate recovery activities. Deep breathing, physical movement, connection with supportive people, or activities that bring you joy. This prevents the buildup of chronic stress that can undermine your future performance. The pressure advantage mindset recognizes that some stress actually enhances performance and that completely eliminating pressure isn't the goal. Optimal pressure, called eustress, sharpens focus, increases energy, and heightens performance. The goal is learning to ride the wave of pressure energy rather than being overwhelmed by it. Integration training involves practicing your pressure techniques during daily activities so they become automatic during genuine high-stakes situations. Use tactical breathing during routine conversations. Practice power poses before normal activities. Use visualization for everyday challenges. This integration makes your pressure techniques available automatically when you need them most. Chapter 13. Transforming difficult emotions into wisdom and strength. Most people see difficult emotions as problems to be solved or enemies to be defeated. But the path to unshakable calm requires a completely different approach. Learning to transform challenging emotions into sources of wisdom, strength, and deeper peace. This doesn't mean enjoying pain or seeking out suffering. It means developing the sophisticated emotional intelligence to extract value from every feeling that arises. The transformation process begins with understanding that emotions are information, not instructions. When anger arises, it's telling you that a boundary has been crossed or a value has been violated. When sadness appears, it's signaling loss or the need for connection. When fear emerges, it's highlighting potential threats or areas where you feel unprepared. The emotion itself isn't the problem. It's your relationship to the emotion that determines whether it becomes destructive or instructive. Anger transformation is one of the most powerful practices for developing emotional mastery. Instead of expressing anger destructively or suppressing it unhealthily, you can learn to harvest its energy for positive change. Anger contains tremendous power and clarity about what matters to you. When you feel angry, ask yourself, what value or boundary is being threatened here? What action does this energy want me to take? How can I channel this intensity into constructive change? The key to transforming anger is separating the energy from the story. Anger often comes with elaborate narratives about who's wrong, who should be punished, and how unfair everything is. These stories amplify suffering without solving problems. Instead, feel the raw energy of anger in your body while releasing the mental drama. Use this energy to fuel clear communication, boundary setting, or positive action. Sadness transformation involves understanding that sadness is often love with nowhere to go. When you lose someone or something important, sadness is the natural response of a heart that cared deeply. Instead of trying to eliminate sadness quickly, learn to sit with it compassionately. Sadness softens the heart, increases empathy, and connects you to your deepest values about what truly matters in life. Allow sadness to teach you about the preciousness of what you have. Let it deepen your appreciation for current relationships and experiences. Use periods of sadness for reflection, introspection, and reconnection with your core values. Many of the most compassionate and wise people have learned to transform their sadness into a deeper capacity for love and service. Fear transformation requires distinguishing between rational fear that alerts you to genuine dangers and irrational fear that's based on imagined threats. Rational fear is useful and should be heeded. If you're walking alone at night in a dangerous area, fear is appropriate protection. But most modern fear is irrational based on worst-case scenarios that rarely occur. Transform irrational fear by using it as a compass pointing toward growth opportunities. Often the things you fear most are the areas where you most need to develop courage and competence. Fear of public speaking points toward developing communication skills. Fear of rejection points toward building self-worth that doesn't depend on others' approval. Fear of failure points toward developing resilience and learning from mistakes. Anxiety transformation involves recognizing that anxiety is often excitement without breath. The physiological symptoms of anxiety and excitement are nearly identical. Increased heart rate, heightened alertness, and energetic activation. The difference is your interpretation and breathing pattern. When you feel anxious, try reprogramming it as excitement and breathe deeply to support your nervous system. Use anxiety as motivation for preparation and action. Instead of trying to eliminate anxious feelings completely, channel that energy into thorough preparation for whatever you're worried about. Anxiety often contains important information about areas where you need to develop skills, create plans, or take action. Transform worry into productive preparation. Frustration transformation recognizes that frustration often signals a gap between expectations and reality. Instead of getting stuck in the emotional charge of frustration, use it as feedback about where your expectations might need adjustment or where you need to develop new strategies. Frustration can fuel innovation, problem solving, and creative solutions when channeled constructively. Jealousy transformation involves using envious feelings as a road map for your own desires and growth areas. When you feel jealous of someone else's success, relationship, or lifestyle, ask yourself, what specifically do I envy about their situation? What does this tell me about what I want in my own life? What steps can I take to create something similar for myself? Use jealousy as motivation for your own development rather than resentment toward others. Guilt transformation distinguishes between healthy guilt that motivates positive behavior change and toxic guilt that perpetuates shame and self-punishment. Healthy guilt arises when you've acted against your values and motivates you to make amends or change behavior. Toxic guilt is based on perfectionist expectations or taking responsibility for things outside your control. Transform healthy guilt into constructive action. Apologize when appropriate. Make changes to prevent similar situations and recommit to your values. Release toxic guilt by examining whether you're taking responsibility for others' feelings or holding yourself to impossible standards. Use guilt as a teacher about your values, not as a weapon for self-attack. Loneliness transformation involves understanding that loneliness often signals a need for deeper connection either with others or with yourself. Instead of trying to eliminate lonely feelings through constant social activity or distractions, Use periods of solitude for self-discovery and developing your relationship with yourself. Many people are lonely in crowds because they've never learned to enjoy their own company. Use loneliness as motivation to create more authentic connections. Often loneliness persists because your relationships lack depth or authenticity. Instead of seeking quantity of social interactions, focus on quality connections where you can be truly yourself. Loneliness can also motivate service to others, which creates connection and meaning simultaneously. The emotional alchemy practice involves regularly examining your difficult emotions to extract their wisdom. When challenging feelings arise, ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to teach me? How might this feeling be serving my growth? What action or insight is this emotion pointing toward? How can I honor this feeling while also maintaining my peace? Creating emotional space involves developing the capacity to feel emotions fully without being overwhelmed by them. Practice observing emotions like a scientist studying interesting phenomena. Notice where you feel different emotions in your body. Observe how emotions change and transform over time. Develop curiosity about your emotional landscape rather than resistance to uncomfortable feelings. The integration process means applying the insights gained from difficult emotions to create positive changes in your life. If anger teaches you about important boundaries, implement those boundaries consistently. If sadness deepens your appreciation, express gratitude more regularly. If fear reveals growth areas, take concrete steps toward development. Transform emotional wisdom into lived experience. Understanding that emotional mastery is a lifelong practice prevents perfectionist expectations that create additional suffering. You won't master this immediately, and you'll have setbacks where you react emotionally rather than responding wisely. This is normal and part of the learning process. Each time you successfully transform a difficult emotion, you're building capacity for future challenges. Chapter 14. Creating unshakable inner confidence through self-mastery. True confidence isn't about projecting an image or convincing others that you're competent. It's the quiet, unshakable knowing that you can handle whatever life presents because you've developed genuine mastery over your own responses, emotions, and choices. This kind of confidence can't be shaken by external criticism, failure, or challenging circumstances because it's built on the solid foundation of self-knowledge and self-mastery. Self-mastery begins with brutal honesty about your current patterns, triggers, and areas where you consistently struggle. Most people avoid this honest self-assessment because it's uncomfortable to acknowledge weaknesses or areas needing growth. But you can't master what you don't acknowledge. Take inventory of situations that consistently destabilize your calm, emotions that overwhelm you, and behaviors you engage in despite knowing they're not serving you. The gap between your values and your actions is where confidence gets undermined. When you say one thing but do another. When you know what's right but choose what's easy. When you compromise your integrity for short-term gains, you erode your own self-trust. True confidence comes from consistently aligning your actions with your deepest values, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. Identify your core values clearly and specifically. Not what you think you should value or what others expect you to value, but what actually matters most to you based on your life experience and authentic desires. These might include integrity, growth, connection, creativity, service, or freedom. Once you're clear on your values, use them as the compass for all significant decisions. Keeping commitments to yourself builds unshakable confidence more than any external achievement. Every time you follow through on something you said you'd do, even small things like exercising, reading, or meditating, you're proving to yourself that you're reliable and trustworthy. Every time you break a commitment to yourself, you're teaching yourself that your word doesn't matter. Start with small, manageable commitments and build your self-trust gradually. If you haven't exercised in years, don't commit to daily hour-long workouts. Commit to 10 minutes of movement 3 times per week and honor that commitment consistently. Once you've proven you can keep smaller commitments, gradually increase the challenge level. Emotional regulation mastery is foundational to unshakable confidence because confidence crumbles when you're at the mercy of your emotional reactions. When you know you can stay calm under pressure, think clearly during conflict and make good decisions. Even when feeling intense emotions, you develop profound trust in your ability to handle whatever arises. Practice emotional regulation during low-stakes situations. So these skills are available during high-stakes moments. If you can stay calm when someone cuts you off in traffic, you're building capacity to stay calm during major conflicts. If you can think clearly when you're disappointed about small things, you're developing the ability to think clearly during major setbacks. Competence building in areas that matter to you creates authentic confidence that can't be faked or lost. Identify skills that would significantly improve your life, career, or relationships. Then commit to systematic improvement. This might be communication skills, financial literacy, technical abilities, creative pursuits, or physical fitness. Real competence creates real confidence. The key is choosing areas for development based on your authentic interests and values rather than what you think will impress others. Confidence built on genuine competence is unshakable because it's based on reality. Confidence built on image management is fragile because it depends on others' perceptions rather than actual ability. Failure reframing transforms setbacks from confidence destroyers into confidence builders. Every person who has achieved anything significant has failed multiple times. The difference between those who build unshakable confidence and those who remain fragile is how they interpret and respond to failure. Confident people see failure as feedback, learning opportunities, and proof that they're pushing their boundaries. Develop a growth mindset that views challenges as opportunities to develop new capabilities rather than tests of your existing worth. When you fail at something, ask, what can I learn from this? How can I improve my approach next time? What strengths did this experience reveal? How does this failure bring me closer to success? Boundary mastery creates confidence by proving to yourself that you can protect your energy, time, and values from external pressures. Every time you say no to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're demonstrating self-respect and building confidence in your ability to make decisions based on your own wisdom rather than others' expectations. Practice setting boundaries in low-stakes situations so you can maintain them during high-pressure moments. This might mean declining social invitations when you need rest, speaking up when someone interrupts you, or refusing to engage in gossip. Each successful boundary strengthens your confidence in your ability to protect what matters to you. Intuition development connects you to your inner wisdom and creates confidence in your decision-making abilities. Most people have been conditioned to ignore their intuitive insights in favor of purely logical analysis or others' opinions. But developing your ability to sense what feels right for you creates unshakable confidence in your choices. Practice listening to your intuition during daily decisions. How does your body feel when you consider different options? What does your gut tell you about people and situations? Keep track of times when you followed your intuition versus times when you ignored it. And notice which led to better outcomes. Self-compassion builds confidence by removing the harsh inner critic that undermines self-trust. Many people try to motivate themselves through self-criticism, but this actually weakens confidence by creating an internal environment of judgment and fear. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend facing similar challenges. When you make mistakes or face setbacks, practice self-compassion by acknowledging the difficulty without harsh judgment. Remind yourself that struggling and making mistakes is part of the human experience. Offer yourself encouragement and support rather than criticism and punishment. This creates an internal environment where confidence can flourish. Independence building reduces your dependence on others' approval for your sense of worth and confidence. While healthy relationships are important, your confidence shouldn't be contingent on others' opinions or validation. Develop your ability to appreciate yourself. Enjoy your own company and make decisions based on your own values and wisdom. The daily practices of self-mastery include morning routines that center you before engaging with external demands. Regular self-reflection to maintain self-awareness. Consistent follow-through on commitments to yourself and evening routines that allow you to process the day's experiences and prepare for rest. Understanding that confidence is an inside job prevents you from seeking it in external achievements, relationships, or recognition. While these things can be enjoyable, they're unreliable foundations for confidence because they're outside your control. Unshakable confidence comes from knowing that regardless of external circumstances, you have the internal resources to handle whatever life presents. Chapter 15. Living from your calm center, Integration and Mastery. After learning techniques, understanding the science and practicing emotional regulation, the ultimate goal is integration. Making calmness so natural and automatic that it becomes your default way of being rather than something you have to consciously access. This final phase transforms you from someone who occasionally feels calm into someone who embodies unshakable peace as a fundamental aspect of your personality. Integration means that calmness becomes invisible to you because it's simply how you operate. You no longer think about staying calm during challenges because your nervous system automatically regulates itself. You don't have to remember to breathe deeply during stress because deep breathing has become your natural pattern. You don't struggle with difficult emotions because you've developed the reflex to transform them into wisdom and strength. The hallmarks of integrated calmness include automatic stress recovery, where your nervous system quickly returns to baseline after activation. Instead of carrying stress from one situation into the next, you naturally reset between activities. Challenging situations still activate your system appropriately, but you don't remain activated after the challenge has passed. Emotional resilience becomes effortless when calmness is integrated. You can experience the full range of human emotions without being destabilized by them. Anger, sadness, fear, and frustration still arise when appropriate, but they move through you like weather patterns through the sky, leaving your essential peace intact. You become someone others can depend on for stability during turbulent times. Your presence begins to affect others positively without any conscious effort. Calm people naturally influence their environment toward greater peace. When you walk into a room, tension levels often decrease. During conflicts, your centered energy helps others find their own calm. This isn't about trying to fix or change others. It's the natural influence of embodied peace. Decision-making becomes clearer and more efficient when you're operating from integrated calmness without the noise of anxiety, overthinking, and emotional reactivity. You can access your intuition and wisdom more readily. You make choices based on clarity rather than fear. And you trust your decisions because they come from a centered place. The practice schedule shifts from intensive daily work to maintenance mode. Instead of needing lengthy meditation sessions or elaborate calming routines, you maintain your center through brief consistent practices woven throughout your day. A few conscious breaths, moment of gratitude or quick body scan becomes sufficient to maintain your equilibrium. Advanced challenges become opportunities for deeper mastery rather than threats to your peace. When you've integrated calmness, you actually seek out appropriate challenges because you know they'll strengthen your capacity and deepen your realization of your own unshockability. You become someone who thrives under pressure rather than simply surviving it. The teaching phase naturally emerges when you've integrated these practices successfully. Others begin asking you how you stay so calm, how you handle stress so well, or what your secret is. You find yourself naturally modeling calm behavior and occasionally sharing insights when appropriate. This teaching deepens your own understanding and creates positive ripple effects in your community. Lifestyle alignment happens automatically when calmness is integrated. You naturally choose foods that support your nervous system. Engage in activities that promote well-being and create environments that foster peace. These aren't forced disciplines. They're natural expressions of someone who values and embodies tranquility. Your relationship patterns transform when you consistently operate from a calm center. You attract calmer people and naturally distance yourself from chronically dramatic individuals. Your communication becomes more thoughtful and effective. You set boundaries effortlessly and maintain them without conflict. Your relationships deepen because you can be fully present without being overwhelmed by others' emotional states. Physical health improvements often accompany integrated calmness. Chronic tension patterns release, sleep quality improves, digestive issues often resolve, and your immune system strengthens. Your body begins operating in the parasympathetic state more consistently, which supports healing and regeneration rather than constant stress response. The creativity and intuition enhancement that comes with integrated calmness opens access to insights and solutions that weren't available when your mind was chronically agitated. You become more innovative in problem solving, more creative in self-expression, and more intuitive in understanding people and situations. Mental clarity and focus become effortless rather than forced. Without the background noise of anxiety and mental agitation, your cognitive resources are available for productive use. You can concentrate for longer periods without fatigue and think more clearly under pressure. Spiritual deepening often occurs naturally when the mind becomes consistently calm. Whether or not you consider yourself spiritual, most people experience a greater sense of connection to something larger than themselves when their internal noise quiets down. This might manifest as deeper appreciation for nature, greater compassion for others, or a sense of purpose and meaning that transcends personal concerns. The maintenance practices for integrated calmness include regular check-ins with yourself to ensure you're maintaining your center, periodic intensive practice sessions when life becomes particularly challenging, and continuous learning to deepen your understanding and refine your skills. Understanding that mastery is a process, not a destination, prevents complacency and maintains your commitment to growth. Even masters have moments of reactivity or challenge. The difference is how quickly they recognize these moments and how efficiently they return to center. Mastery means failing forward rather than failing backward. Creating sustainable practices ensures that your calmness isn't dependent on perfect external conditions. Your practices should be adaptable to different life circumstances, energy levels, and time constraints. The goal is developing a toolkit so robust that you can maintain your center regardless of what life presents. The ripple effect of your integrated calmness extends far beyond your personal life. Your family experiences less stress and conflict. Your workplace becomes more harmonious. Your community benefits from your stable, peaceful presence. You become part of the solution to the collective anxiety and agitation that characterizes modern life. Legacy building happens naturally when you embody the peace you've cultivated. Whether through formal teaching, informal mentoring, or simply living as an example, you contribute to a more peaceful world. Your children, if you have them, grow up with a model of how to handle life's challenges with grace. Your friends and colleagues learn new possibilities for responding to stress. The ultimate realization of mastery is understanding that the calm you've cultivated was always your true nature. The techniques and practices simply removed the obstacles that prevented you from experiencing your natural state of peace. You haven't become someone different. You've uncovered who you really are beneath the conditioning, reactivity, and mental noise. Living from your calm center becomes as natural as breathing. It's not something you do, it's something you are. This transformation from occasional calmness to embodied peace is the ultimate goal of all the practices and insights you've learned. You become unshakable not because nothing can disturb you but because you know with absolute certainty that you can handle whatever disturbances arise with grace, wisdom and strength.